Hi guys, my name is Ryan and this is my booktube channel. Since this is my first video, I thought it would be a good idea to do the booktube newbie tag so you guys can get to know me better. Question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? So, funny story, I actually have been watching booktube since I was in high school, so it's been a few years now. I think I started watching booktube around 2014 or 2015, and around that time I actually had a booktube channel. I was so excited by finding that there were other people who enjoyed books on YouTube and that there was this whole community that I started a booktube channel, and I had no idea what to do with it. I didn't really know my reading tastes as well as I do now. I actually ended up stopping. But I've decided to return to booktube just because I have a better grasp on my reading taste now, and I also have a better grasp of what booktube actually is. Back in high school, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted for my channel or what other people were doing. But now I realize booktube is this whole community and there's lots of different things to do. Like there's reviews, there's discussions, there's vlogs, and I'm excited to try all of those things. And I think mostly I started this channel just to be able to talk about books with people in the community. Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to booktube? And I think the thing about me is just that my reading taste is kind of all over the place, and one of the things I really pride myself on is that I like to try new things. I think it would be fun if on booktube I made a point of trying new things every now and again and documenting it just so you can see my reactions or my thoughts, and I think that would be a lot of fun. And I'm hoping to find books that I've actually never heard of before or that might be what you would call underrated and share them with you. Question number 3 is, what are you most excited about for this channel? And honestly, I think the thing that I'm most excited about is just getting to know people around me and people in the community. And I'm excited to connect with people that actually read the same books as me, or people who don't read the same books as me, so then I can broaden my taste a little bit. Question number 4 is, why do you love reading? And I've actually always been a reader. My mom's also a huge reader, so that was the one thing that she really drilled into me, was that I had to be a reader too. But that was something that we enjoyed doing when I was a kid. And something that I've always loved about reading is that you can experience someone else's life. Even if it's a fantasy novel, you're experiencing an entire world without even having to go anywhere. Reading has always been this pillar in my life where, if I didn't have any friends in my life, I had these characters that I could rely on. And in my life, I've always found comfort in reading just because there's these stories that I can find myself in and resonate with them, and I think that's really important. Question number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? I actually have a few answers for this. Like I said before, reading's always been a huge factor of my life. Me and my mom would read together a lot when I was growing up, and when I was a little kid, some of my favorite series were like the Magic Tree House books, or the Junie B. Jones books. I did try to read Harry Potter when I was a little kid, but I think I might have been a little too young for it. I was always a kid that gravitated towards fantasy books. My reading tastes when I was a kid were really specific. I always liked books with animals in them, or if they had some sort of fantasy element. So one of the first book series that I ever remember being obsessed with that my mom didn't introduce to me was the Guardians of Ga'Hoole books. It was basically like Warrior Cats, but with owls. And I read all of those books. I was so obsessed with that series. Like in 4th or 5th grade, I could sit down and I could explain every detail of the entire plot of the series to you, like no questions asked. But another formative series for me when I was growing up is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. This is actually one of the first books that I remember picking up, and it was actually about a person. Back then, I was still reading a lot of books about animals, and reading books about people or real life in any way, even if it was real life with an added fantasy element, was not something that I was ever interested in. So when I picked Percy Jackson up, it opened me up to this idea that not every book that I had to read had to be about an animal. And honestly, Percy Jackson is still a really big part of my life right now. I still love it. And I'm excited for the TV show to come out. But I think the last book that was really formative for me, and what really allowed my reading taste to evolve into what it is today, is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This was the first book that I ever read, and I read it in high school, so I was a bit older at that point. But this was the first book that I had ever read that didn't have any magic in it. It wasn't fantasy. It wasn't about animals. It was about people. And it was still this emotional story that I really connected to, and it had beautiful writing. I still love it, and I actually want to reread it soon. And from there, I was able to find other genres that weren't fantasy that I could connect with and enjoy and find books that were special to me. But don't get me wrong, I still do love fantasy. Question number 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? And I think I speak for a lot of new booktubers, but the question that I would really ask them is just how anything. How do you manage your time? How do you do the technical stuff like editing and make it look nice? How do you balance reading with making content and with your job and with school and whatever? And how do you make sure that you actually have time to read so then you can make good content? And overall, just asking for any general good advice that they would have to start. Question number 7 is, what challenges of starting a booktube channel do you think will be the hardest to overcome? And aside from the technical stuff like editing and stuff like that, I think my biggest thing is going to be staying motivated. This was another issue back when I started my booktube channel the first time back in high school. I just wasn't motivated to keep putting time aside to film videos and come up with cool concepts. And on top of that, staying motivated to actually keep reading and do school and all that other stuff along the way as well. So I think staying motivated and managing my time is definitely something that I'm going to have to learn. Question number 8 is, when did you start reading? And I kind of answered this earlier, but I started reading when I was very young. I always had really high reading scores in school. I loved to read outside of school. I loved reading for fun. And my mom's a huge reader, so she was really the big driving force for me being the reader that I am today, because she started me off really young. Question number 9 is, where do you like to read? And I could lie. I could say I go somewhere fun like Starbucks or the park or something to get a nice change of scenery, but I don't. A lot of my reading is just done in my bed. Like, I'm not kidding. I hardly even go to my living room to read. It's just all in my bed. But I do also read in the break room at work on my breaks and lunches. But honestly, if I'm not in one of those two places, I'm just not comfortable enough to read. And the last question, question number 10, is, what kinds of books do you like to read? And I will say that my main genres are definitely fantasy and hard-hitting contemporary, and also mainly YA. I do want to start exploring adult fantasy and middle grade, but I found myself recently really enjoying hard-hitting contemporaries. I like books that deal with heavy topics, especially if they make some sort of social commentary. I love graphic novels, whether it's general fiction, science fiction, fantasy. That's definitely something that's up my alley, and I would love to explore more graphic novels. And every now and again, I do read a poetry book or a nonfiction book, and I would love to delve more into those in the future. Alright, and that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to shoot me any book recommendations down in the comments, and don't forget to give this video a like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to do something good for someone else. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!